Huh?
Just reach and I'll throw a grenade through.
Yo, let's fucking click enter and then just fucking breach in like some badass motherfuckers.
Alright, I'm game. Let's go.
Alright, 3, 2, 1. One?
Hey.
One? Who's next, bitch? You're next, bitch. Woo! You're next, bitch. Oh, that was so fucking sick, bro.
Dude,
That was fucking awesome. That was so sick.
wow.
What's going on, YouTube? My name is Everybody's Enemy, and over the past few months we have seen significant changes to the gameplay we experience in Rainbow Six Siege. Think of how the game was when it first released, and think of it now. For example, I remember at the beginning of the game, the Fuse operator and the Blitz operator were seen as overpowered and everyone wanted to use them. The introduction of new operators and new maps will inevitably birth new tactics for our disposal, and obviously to be a competitive player for the duration of the game's existence, you have to adapt to these different changes. I've been playing this game extensively for a few months, and I would confidently say that I am pretty good, but while playing, I've noticed multiple trends that happens with each team that I play on. The first is everybody wants to do their own thing and play their own way. Like when you play with a team of randoms on defense and everybody is roaming, or the guy with no mic takes an important operator like Thermite and he's the first to die, so now the amount of entry points to the objective is cut in half, therefore essentially ruining the entire operation. I know these situations all too well, but that's not the issue I will be handling today. The next trend I've noticed is a failure in execution. You could have a team where everyone has a mic and everyone is making a plan, but the execution is terrible and you lose. Most of the time, the failed execution can be attributed to your individual skill. If the role you play in the operation is watching a flank and you fail to do so, or you have to sit back in the objective but you get killed and the enemy team starts to move in, all of these scenarios were not the result of a lack of teamwork or communication, but a lack of individual skill, and that's the issues I want to address. It annoys me when people fail to execute the plan and instead of blaming themselves, they blame external sources, such as the plan itself, or the room they picked, or the operator they picked, or even worse, they blame their teammates. We all have that one person on that team where no matter what happens, it's never their fault, it's always someone else's. You can have a top-notch plan, but if you can't execute, then your efforts will be all for nothing. Let's say I invented the flashlight, and at the same time, I invented batteries to actually make the flashlight work. People are much more focused on the flashlight than they are the batteries, even though the flashlight cannot work without batteries. I want everyone to realize that the execution of the plan is equally important to the plan itself, and sometimes the reason you lost is not because the room you picked is hard to defend, but it's because you died in the first 3 seconds of the fucking match. This video will increase your individual skill to the point where whether you win or lose will be almost entirely attributed to your teamwork and communication. Increasing your individual skill will directly influence your team because you will be able to execute your side of the plan much more efficiently. To help me get my point across, all the gameplay you see will be in ranked mode. My current ranked is a diamond and I was a platinum 3 in season 1. So now it begs the question, how exactly do you raise your KD in Rainbow Six Siege? My response to that question is to raise your KD, you have to focus on two major things: minimizing the amount of deaths that you get in a game and eliminating all of the different variables. In Siege, you only get one life, and when you die each round or every other round, it hurts your KD. Now personally, I think the best way to minimize the amount of deaths that you take is to kill them before they kill you. So the first thing I'm going to get into is aiming. I know a lot of people have trouble with getting headshots and winning one-on-one gunfights, so this will be the first and most important subject that I address when talking about getting better. The first video I released talking about how to get better, I said that a good sensitivity setup was 7 vertical and 7 horizontal. I just wanted to point out right now that what I recommended was bullshit. I regret ever telling anyone that. The new sensitivity setup that I recommend is a 4 vertical, 5 horizontal, and 50 ADS. In my opinion, your vertical should always be 1 point lower than your horizontal to maximize on your aiming. This sensitivity setup was recommended to me and I was pulling headshots like crazy once I switched. If that sensitivity is a little too fast for you, then I recommend you go down to a 3-4 or a 2-3, and once you get comfortable with those, you could then start going for higher numbers. The 4-5 sensitivity works for me because it's just fast enough to make small quick adjustments to my aim when peeking around corners, and I can kind of drag my scope across if my reticle isn't exactly lined up with the enemy's head. If you play on a high sensitivity, I'm telling you, if you're not successful with that, turn it down and it will make a lot of difference. Next, I want to talk about recoil control when using guns. Obviously, almost every gun in Siege has a different kind of recoil, some high, some low, some non-existent. When I'm peeking with a gun that has a high recoil, I don't necessarily use the burst fire settings because the enemy most likely has their gun in full auto and they'll be spraying to try to get your head. If you're in a position where it's incredibly difficult for them to hit you, then yeah, burst fire settings aren't bad, but for the most part, I don't use them. You want to hold down ever so slightly on the right thumbstick when shooting a gun with a high recoil, and you got to kind of memorize the recoil as you're playing. So like I use Rook a lot and Dock a lot, so the MP5 recoil is kind of burned into my mind. It takes practice, but once you get the hang of it, it'll be a lot easier to get headshots with high recoil weapons. And another quick tip when using high recoil guns is to use a recoil compensator. With this new update, recoil compensators make full automatic guns a lot easier to use because it does a better job of controlling the recoil than a flash hider does. So if you're using like an MP5 or MP7, I highly recommend that you use a recoil compensator instead of like a flash hider or even a suppressor, because the recoil will be a lot easier to control with the recoil compensator.
Oh, I just aced that shit, bro.
Oh, that could have been bad, bro. Almost died.
Now that that's out of the way, let's talk about positioning while aiming. Never ever stand in a doorway or at an angle where your body is fully exposed. You want to expose the bare minimum of your body while also getting the perfect angle for shooting. To put it in simpler terms, this picture I'm showing you is wrong and the picture right next to it is correct. When you're fully exposed like that, it is easy for the enemy to peek around a corner and kill you, because they will have the peeker's advantage and you won't. Obviously, there are some exceptions to this rule, but for the most part, just avoid it. There are angles where you are at an advantage and angles where you are at a disadvantage. It's important to know what these angles are to help you avoid dying. If you're getting shot at and can't engage because you can't see who is shooting at you or where they're shooting at you, find a different angle. Also, when you're peeking around corners, don't peek slowly. I see a lot of people creep around corners. That's the easiest way to get headshotted, because the peeker's advantage doesn't work when you're moving slowly. You have to move as fast as possible when you're peeking if you want that peeker's advantage. And when you peek in and out quickly to get a mental picture of where the enemy is. Once you see the enemy, peek back and then peek right back in to get the headshot. If you're on the receiving end of this tactic, don't stand still. When you see the enemy peek, immediately start strafing or move out of the way, because if you stand still, you will get killed 9 times out of 10. While aiming is very important, it won't help you much if you get shot in the back. So the next tip I have is to eliminate all the variables. What do I mean by this? Use your fucking camera drones. You get 2 of them, and they can and will mean the difference between your success and your failure. Always save your drone, especially if you know where they are. For example, on the map Cafe Dostoevsky or whatever it's called, pretty much every team picks the train museum first, so you personally don't need to spot them. Have 1 or 2 teammates confirm that the objective is there and then save your drone. Once that's done, proceed to drone the area you're going to attack from. Be aware of the places that the enemy can flank from as well. On the defensive side of things, get on the cameras to get a general idea of where they're spawning from and where they're attacking from. If you're staying back in the objective, then you'll have a general idea of where they're going to attack from. If you're roaming, you're going to need to stay on the cameras a little longer to figure out where the enemy is going to be. Cameras are so important in this game, and they can save you and your teammates if they are used properly. You need cameras to eliminate the variables. Variables being things like killing the roamers, because when you ignore the roamers, you get flanked. That being said, on the defensive side of things, make sure you're doing your part in shooting all of the camera drones. Whenever you see one, never leave it alone, always shoot it. By shooting cameras, you're essentially blinding the enemy team, and being blind is a variable. Something I want to address to help you avoid dying is to never stop learning. I said this in my last video and I'll say it again. When you stop learning, you die. If you hop through a window and get frost trapped, look in the top right corner. If you see on the enemy team that they have a frost, that's your fault. If in the top right corner there's 1 or 2 question marks, that's still your fucking fault for hopping in a window without droning it out first. Knowledge is power in Siege. You ever notice how easy the game becomes when you know exactly what you're dealing with or where the enemy is? That's what needs to be done. Whenever you die, always reflect on what happened, how you died, how can you avoid it in the future, and this thought process will keep you alive. Now obviously, you won't be able to remember every single possible scenario and variable you encounter all the time while playing, because nobody can operate at such a high thinking capacity without crashing every now and again. You're a human being, you will make mistakes, but it's important to learn from them and move on. The last and most important tip that I have to raise your KD in Rainbow Six Siege is to play with confidence. When you doubt yourself in anything you do in your life, that's how you fail. Same thing applies to Rainbow Six Siege. There's nothing to be afraid of because it's a video game. Remember this the next time it's a 1v5 and you need to clutch it to win a round. Or you start up a ranked match and you go up against a team of all diamonds. As the first 2 clips of this video have shown you, you can beat all odds if you play with confidence and don't let fear take over. Thank you very much for watching. If this video does well, I will make a part 3 on how to get better at Rainbow Six Siege, talking all about teamwork and communication. This is everybody's enemy. Catch y'all later.
Watch that hallway here. I got your back. Ash, watch that hallway.
Yeah.
I heard C4, bro.
Yep.
Oh, there you go.
Cap cam ran right there.
1 out of 3.
Let me peek in that motherfucker. This one in the kill hole in the far back.
Yeah, I'm about to Ash's castle wall, okay?
Oh shit.
Woo! You dodged that one.
Loading mag.
I'm gonna watch y'all's back. Make sure there's no flank.
Last stop standing.
Damn, they ain't even barricade
Good shit.
these walls.
They got
damn.
fucking ace, bro.
Op 4 neutral.
Good shit.
They got fucking ace. I'm saving that clip.
Nice shit.
We just rape these diamonds. They better demote.
He said the moat. Still ain't shit.